into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey everybody, welcome to another installment of Spotlight On. I'm your host, Kelly McInerney. With me today, you may recognize him from the hit show on CBS 2 Broke Girls, which is coming back for season 4 this coming Monday. Everyone, please welcome Jonathan Kite. Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. But before we get into season 4, talking about all that fun stuff, let's start back at the beginning of how you got to where you are now. Is that cool?
Sure.
Yeah? All right. So you're originally from Skokie, Illinois.
Yes.
Kind of like a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah, it's right on the border of Chicago.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the L line still goes there and stuff.
Yeah, there's the Skokie Swift.
Yeah.
And they just opened, I think, a second, and I'm going to really get in trouble for this, I think at Oakton, they opened another line, which of course it waited until I left before they did it.
Always do. Always do. What was life growing up as a kid? Were you a funny kid, or were your parents funny?
Was I a funny kid? I don't think my teachers thought so. I'm sure, I think I was probably pretty disruptive. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was this one teacher that I used to do an impression of when he was sick or if he was out for the day. I would do an impression of him as in front of the class, and hopefully we all try to convince the substitute teacher to see if I could teach the class as him. And I think it got back to him at the end, and it was not pretty.
No.
I mean, you know what? I would like to say I probably should have taken school maybe a little bit more seriously, and I think that's what my teachers didn't appreciate.
But it kind of worked out for you in the end.
It worked out great for me, not good for them, trying to teach a generation of children in my class.
Yeah. So what made you decide to be, like, was there anybody when you were younger that you looked up to that was funny, or what made you decide to, I want to do comedy?
I went to a lot of, Chicago has a great theater scene, so I went to a lot of the plays that were there. And I grew up going to Second City. So, you know, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, they were on stage when I was in, I think, high school.
Oh, wow.
So it was really cool, and obviously them to go on to be the legends that they are. But, you know, it was very inspiring to see funny people, you know, so close to home that you could go to, and there was a consistency. And I watched, you know, I listened to a lot of old-time radio. My father's a really big old-time radio guy, and I watched a lot of classic films growing up. So I don't know that I was necessarily interested in going into comedy per se, but I liked telling stories, and I really liked old film and old television, and I think that really inspired me to maybe want to do that.
Cool. And you said, did you do Second City?
I did like a master class with some students from my high school, and then I went to college right away, and then I came to LA immediately after college.
Oh, okay.
So I got the chance to do a master class there, but that was really, I saw a ton of shows, but.
Mm-hmm. So you graduated from the U of A in University of Illinois with a BFA in acting.
Yeah.
Did you do any more comedy things in college, or did you kind of focus with acting? Or?
Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, I was on an improv troupe called Spicy Clamato. That was a short form game improv troupe that was really fun for 4 years. And then it's kind of a conservatory program, so it takes up a majority of your time. They make you re-audition for the program after your second year, which is kind of nerve-wracking to have come that far and realize that it's like another 2 years to Mordor, but you might not make it.
Yeah.
But I did. Thank God. That's the end. Spoiler alert. I did. But it was a great school, great theater program, and you know, the thing about the improv for me was it was with a lot of my buddies, so it was kind of maybe a stress relief kind of on the outside of it, just because I think the acting in a great way for me, was really rigorous and it was very structured. And so it's really nice to have something else on the side to kind of go to with a bunch of your buddies.
Yeah, but it's still acting kind of, so it's still counted.
Yeah, it was still performing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it exercised different muscles because a lot of the stuff that you do, I mean, they clearly, you know, promote spontaneity in acting in college, but, you know, to kind of always be in the moment, making up your own, it's kind of coming at it from a different angle, which I think it was nice to kind of get it from two sides. It kind of helped me learn, I think, in the whole 4-year run of it.
Yeah, did doing improv kind of help you with your acting skills?
It does. I mean, it really helps you stay in the moment because you don't know what the other person, I mean, you're bringing what you're bringing to the table, but, you know, like acting, you're getting it from the other person. And so if you kind of go away, then it all becomes about you and not, you know, the greater story and the greater relationship that's going. So, yeah, it really helps keep you in the moment.
Awesome, yeah. And you came out to LA right after college. Was the transition difficult, or were you like, I'm just going to do it? Go for it.
I probably, you know, I think it was a little, I didn't know what to expect, to be totally honest with you. I'd only gone to LA a couple times and never on a professional adventure. It was more just to like kind of hang out with buddies and maybe check out the scene out here. But the truth is, you can't really, my experience, you can't really know LA until you're living it. You know, when people come and visit, I think, even if you were to do things that locals like us do, it's not really living inside what it takes to make it as a professional out here. I just think it's one of those things that you have to do it to do it. And so I didn't really know what to expect, but I moved out here with two really good friends of mine, and we lived in an apartment together in the Valley and just kind of tried to help each other out to the best of our ability and kind of meet things together. But I think that was really exciting for me, not knowing what was out here and just kind of saying, you know, you're young, who cares? Just throw yourself into it. And that's kind of nice, I think, to have that unexpected, that there was like that joy and kind of that suspense of, you know, what was going to come the next day.
Yeah, YOLO is what the kids say nowadays.
We didn't say it then, but we do say it now.
You just said the longer one, you only live once.
And they said, can't you shorten that? I'm like, I'm not interested in shortening it. We used to say things longer before Twitter knocked everything down to 140 characters.
I know. So much shorter conversations. But the two friends that you moved out here with, were they into the entertainment industry too? Yeah,
they're both actors. One of them is actually back in school.
Oh, cool.
And then the other one is still out here pursuing acting. So it was cool. We all went to college together, so we, you know, had known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so at least, because we didn't really know anybody else out here. And I think that's the crazy thing about LA is it's a bunch of inner circles that you kind of have to, like I always say, everything in LA is a speakeasy.
Yeah.
You have to know the password, you have to know something. You hang around long enough, maybe you'll get a chance to go in, you know, but there's a lot that kind of goes into it. And having a base of two buddies that I really loved and trusted as like a, you know, support for each other, I think it was a great move on all of our parts to move out here together.
Yeah, it's all about like connections and stuff, especially with colleges. I bet you met other like U of I people out here.
I met a lot of Chicago people out here, which is really cool. Chicago, it's great. I feel like once you tell someone you're from that area, you know, and you can do the handshake, it opens up, you know, incredible, like a door you didn't, like a Harry Potter door that you didn't even know was there, and everybody inside. So I feel really lucky to come from Chicago because the people are so warm and inviting, and they've been that way, you know, as long as I've been out here.
I only went to Chicago for a year. Like I went to Columbia College.
Oh, cool.
But that's how I met a lot of friends out here, because of Chicago people.
And they still accept you. If you tell them that you live there for a year, or someone's like, I visit, you know, people are like, oh, you know, it's a great community out there. It was nice. It's funny, there's bars out here that are Chicago bars. Yeah. And sports bars,
and
which I think is cool.
And hot dog places and stuff.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. It's really nice.
Do you miss any like food and stuff from Chicago? Because it's
deeply.
Different. Yeah.
Oh man, we just got heavy. There's there is a restaurant called Walker Brothers. It's a pancake house.
Oh man.
And it is so delicious that so Chicago, as you know, the mythology goes, gets incredibly cold.
Yeah.
I always say it's like a you know, the day after tomorrow. It's like a terrible like weather that can literally that kills everybody except Jake Gyllenhaal and his father.
Yeah.
And there's this restaurant where it's so busy that you have to wait outside in a line, right? And there's a middle area, and they say, don't keep the doors open to let the heat out. even if you're like sort of warming these people, because we need to stay warm inside here. So people without heat will stand outside in the bitter cold. It like opens at 6 a.m. There are old people in line that I'm like, one of you is not going to make it. Like, I don't know who it is. It's like an Agatha Christie novel. I don't know who makes it to breakfast. One of you is not doing it. But they know it. They go, it's cool. We might not make it this time. It's kind of worth it. And so for me, every time when I go back in town, I eat there at least once or twice.
Awesome. Because the line's so long, you can only do it like once or twice. Right?
Yeah, that's right. I have to actually plan my trip on how many times. It's like going to a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I wish there was a fast pass for food. There's not.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So when you moved out here, you started doing improv too, right?
I did. I was on an improv team at IO West that we competed in the cage matches.
Yeah. Did you take the levels out here or?
We did it. I did a little bit back in Chicago. And if you had been in that community back in Chicago, you could, yeah. Which was, I don't know if it works that way for Second City out here, but it was nice.
It does. UCB, it does.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, they want the community. They want people who are like-minded in their, process. And I just think that it strengthens the community no matter where you're from.
Yeah. Was it Spicy Clamato or was it a different improv team?
Clamato.
I'm sorry.
That's
Clamato.
okay. That's all right. For the purists out there. It was totally different. There was actually a buddy of mine that I moved out here with. He was in Spicy Clamato. He was also, the name of our group was called Elron Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
And it was
still with that spicy like Spanish twang.
Well,
L,
but spelled like L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he might have been Spanish. I don't know that much about him.
Yeah.
There were 6 guys, and so we put together, because we kind of asked ourselves, at least for us at the time, it's great to do it, but it's nice to have a goal in mind. Like, some guys are trying to put together a sketch show to do a television show, or some guys, and we had all kind of been working as actors out here. So when we got together, we thought, well, what's there to, what could we do with this that might be fun for all of us? And so we did the competitive, the cage match, which happens on Monday night.
You won for 52 weeks.
Yeah, we did. We set the record at the time, and we retired undefeated. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah. Did you do improv after, or you just were like, I'm done?
I just dropped the mic, which you don't even use in improv. That was just a prop that I did. And I think that for us, we did it. It was an amazing accomplishment. It was like a band of brothers type thing. But at the end of it, I think I still improv occasionally, but I've moved somewhere else. I had a great time with that, and I still love to do it. Like, my friends have improv shows and they've invited me to do it.
Yeah.
But that group consistently, one of them moved away. Another one started a different job that had him traveling a bunch. But it was a nice moment. You know what I mean? We had that, and we kind of remember it.
And ended on like a high note and stuff.
Like a Breakfast Club, like freeze frame, high five.
Yeah.
And then it was great. I mean, and it gave us, even with all of our busy schedules, it gave us like an amazing opportunity to hang out with each other and just to, remind ourselves why we perform, and like, do it in a community of people that we love, and, and something that we care about. Cool.
So then you started to do something else, or maybe you've done this for a while, your impressions, right?
I did those, those are very recent.
Okay.
We had a writer strike out here. I don't know how long you've lived out here, but there was a writer strike within the last, maybe 7 years ago or something. And they were looking for people who could write and kind of perform their own stuff. And, I think characters a lot people can do, but I think there are less that can do impressions.
Yeah.
And so they were auditioning a bunch of us, and I tried a couple of them, and when you audition for a show, like I thought I was gonna have a long time to learn these, because like when you audition like for Two Broke Girls, the audition process was a month and a half. I mean, they keep bringing you back, but it's weeks. They're trying to decide on a whole bunch of things. You're just one very small component of this giant machine. And I told them, I said, I can do Vince Vaughn and I can do Nicolas Cage, and I could not do either of those people. But I thought, you can learn it. Like, I have a pretty good ear. And then they go, great, the callback is Monday morning. And this was really late on a Friday.
Oh my God.
And so I had to, I sat in front of YouTube, and I watched Fred Claus for like, I mean, I almost blew my voice out because I was trying so hard to mimic Vince. And I came back on Monday morning with like a pretty, I'd like to say a pretty decent Vince Vaughn impression.
Yeah.
And so it was, but one of those things where I thought it was cool because I think everybody can do stuff in their living room. Like, you know, somebody's shooting a free throw, everyone can shoot a free throw, you know. The quarterback screws up, everybody could have done that. But, you know.
But with somebody watching you, it's
yeah,
like
and
you
the
get
pressure
scared.
to do it. Well, I just think it's a different kind of performance level. And I think that you sort of don't get to the privilege of like somebody like Michael Jordan, who made an incredible amount of last minute free throws.
Yeah.
You know, part of his talent gave him the privilege of playing in that situation. And so it was a nice that they extended the offer to call, you know, to have me called back. So I really wanted to make good on that callback. And not just say, you know what, I was BSing, I don't do any of this stuff, you know. So I really tried, and I gave it my all, and it just happened to work out really well.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage, I feel like, is kind of easier.
He was somebody that I had maybe done like a joke on in college or something, or like we had this voice teacher in college who despised the way he talked. But, you know, in a way, I think like you have to love the way you speak because you can't really change it. So I always thought that was super interesting that a guy who was clearly very successful and was doing things well, somebody came out and was like, his natural tone is terrible. And I remember thinking, well, you know, because I have a similar, like I have a nasal type voice, or maybe can be considered that way.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't change this, like, you know, accept it and embrace it. And so I think with Nick, I was able to kind of maybe go further and kind of push that to do that.
Yeah. So were they the first impressions that you learned how to do?
No, I learned when I was a kid. I learned Peter Lorre, who was an old movie star. He was in Casablanca, and he's a little Hungarian man, or he was, and he I just liked him a lot. And I remember I was 5 or 6 years old, and I learned how to do him when I was very, very young.
Cool. And who's your favorite impression to do?
Probably Vince Vaughn. I mean, I think that, you know, people, they haven't heard him.
Yeah.
And so I think that's exciting to me, to do impressions for people. Like I can do Christopher Walken and Al Pacino and De Niro and stuff, which are, you know, very
Go-to.
Yeah, they're great.
impression. Yeah.
But they're go-to a lot of people, which isn't to say like if people who can do those, like that's still very impressive.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool when I hear somebody, or when I can do something that people have never really heard before. It's pretty cool.
Can you do Vince Vaughn for us now?
I can do Vince Vaughn for you. You know what I'm saying right now?
Yeah.
I'm talking into like a B. This is like sponsored by Honey Nut Cheerios. Is that like a real thing or something like that? Ha ha ha.
Cool. And I read on IMDb you do Robert Downey Jr. too. Can you do?
I do. I'm waiting on Robert Downey Jr. because I'm going to do. Well, I'm doing a stand-up act. So what I do is a lot of times when people see the impressions for the first time, it's when I do stand-up.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I always say, like, if you come see me do stand-up, you'll see impressions that maybe you've never seen before. And so I'm actually writing a bit for him right now, and I haven't done it for anybody. And I'm going to try to do it when I'm going to be in Virginia next in 2 weeks. So I'm going to try to do it then.
Do it then?
Yeah.
What about your Nicolas Cage? Do you have that one handy? Sorry, putting you on the spot.
People, I don't know. Let me ask you, just for a quick question.
Yeah.
Why do you think people like to hear impressions?
I don't know. I think they're just because you don't hear them as often. Like you hear a lot of like for stand-up comedians, you hear a lot of jokes.
Sure.
But good impressions are kind of rare nowadays.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I'm always curious because it's funny when you see people do it. Like people, their eyes kind of light up and they're like, "Oh, so nice." Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know why that is, and I never asked anybody.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, Nicolas Cage is, he is sort of excitable.
Thanks for doing that.
Of course.
Awesome. So you practice these in your car, I read.
I do. I practice them in my car a lot because that's the time. Like when I'm not working, I'm practicing my lines, but a lot of time you're going from thing to thing to thing. And so the only time you really have is like, I have an MP3 player. So I'll like take a interview that like, you know, Nick has done or something.
Yeah.
And I'll try to record the interview on my phone and then just play it back over and over again.
And you're stuck in LA traffic, so you've got plenty of time,
That's
right?
right. More than I would like.
Yeah. How long does it take you to learn an impression? Like how many days or hours?
No, I mean, well, it's never the same. I mean, I learned, I think Vince was harder for me because it was the first time I'd ever really tried to do it. Whereas I think that some people, maybe you just like naturally sound like people. So
Yeah.
Like you can go, oh, I sound like this person, so that's sort of an impression for you. But to learn somebody that you don't necessarily sound like, I think that was a challenge for me. That was that took me a couple days.
Yeah.
But other guys I've learned like almost instantaneously, and then some guys I'm like still working on over, and it takes a long, long time.
Is there one that you, no matter how hard you do, you just can't do?
So when I was younger, I could do Gilbert Gottfried very well,
Yeah.
but as I get older, my voice gets deeper and deeper, and I think like
Losing it.
well,
kinda.
he has a very high voice. Like even Gilbert Gottfried impressions I've heard, I think like it doesn't really sound like him because he has, for a male, an unnatural. It's like Russell Brand. You actually
Yeah.
never hear, and I've heard a lot of Russell Brand impressions, and I always think like that's not you just have a high voice. But Russell, there's like a rhythm to him that's really specific, and his voice is incredibly high. And so I think as adult males, there are very few. Like you'd almost have to have a voice in that register to even attempt to doing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to me. I wonder often like who I'll be able to do in the future having a deeper voice than I could when I was younger.
Yeah. Cool. And you said you do most of these in your stand-up act, right?
I did it. Well, I did them for voice matching, and I was on a show on Fox, a sketch show.
Yeah.
And so that's where I learned most of them.
Cool.
Because I've only been doing stand-up for like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And so it was great. It was like a pop culture show similar to In Living Color or Saturday Night Live or Mad TV. And so when they needed somebody to learn an impression, it was it was either me or this other guy. Yeah. And so that's where I really had to learn a lot of them that I had not expected to do.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned you've only done stand-up for 2 years.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do stand-up? Was that just like next?
No, I think it was something that I'd always wanted to do. But Two Broke Girls, we shoot the year of the school year. So I shoot from August until April. Okay. So to fit a film in the time that you're off is very difficult. I mean, it can be done. Obviously, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
But scheduling changes. I was up for, I had auditioned for films and then the scheduling changed. So now you're out of the running because you have this commitment. But the thing about stand-up is if you do it, it's on your time. Mm-hmm. And so I had a summer off, the first summer in between season 1 and 2. And I was hanging out with a bunch of my friends at a comedy club, and it just kind of came up. And I thought, yeah, why not? I mean, this would be fun. I'd like to try this.
Awesome. Some people just never do it. So good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, to me, it feels like, in a weird way, it felt like the right time. Mm-hmm. I don't think that for improv, I was like, this is the time to improv. But I think with something like stand-up, it just felt like you do have this opportunity. And I think sometimes the excuse is, I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
And I really noticed that, over the summer, there was a lot of amazing stand-up going on and opportunities going on in LA. And having, being here and having, not nothing to do, but kind of then having the freedom to really go after it in a hard way, which I think, I give stand-ups an incredible amount of credit and applause because it's really... It's a very huge commitment, and it's not some random thing and get on stage. I mean, the people that do it incredibly well, they work at it all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's been a wonderful learning opportunity for me, and it's opened a lot of doors. And I've had really positive experiences. I'm thankful for the opportunities I've been given, and I hope to keep doing it for a long time.
Cool. So what's your creative process like with your stand-up comedy? Like, how do you write? Because you do the impressions, but also other jokes?
I do a lot of real... Well, the thing is, I don't really talk about Two Broke Girls in my stand-up.
Okay.
So I think that is an interesting thing for people because I'll go there and then I'll think, in between shows, I'll take pictures. I love to meet people and talk to them. And so many of them have questions about the show.
Yeah.
And I think that, but for me, in a way, I love Two Broke Girls, but I like keeping it separate. Mm-hmm. I don't mind answering questions, but, telling stories about it, I mean, it's such a positive experience for me. But we have crazy things that happen, but a lot of them feel like inside jokes. They don't feel like, me telling the audience, it's so weird. When you have to kiss Stifler's mom, you guys know what that's like, right?
Yeah, it's not relatable.
It's not. So for me, I love having it, and I like compartmentalizing things. I like that being the thing that it is. and I actually comment on the celebrity of Hollywood now, because I got it's different. Like, people wherever you go, they have very specific polarizing opinions about what it is to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
And so I will talk about that because I think that's hilarious, that, like, what people think about it. Because I think living in LA, it's very different for us. Like, we're all here, and it doesn't seem, I mean, it's an amazing deal when you I mean, trust me, it was like the biggest thing that ever happened to me. But when you go other places, like, people will expect that you're going to be able to do things or, like, get things because you're famous.
Yeah.
And I've had some amazing true stories that I used to tell amongst my friends. And then that's how my friends were like, you should tell that on stage, because it seemed relatable enough to all of these people. And there's one joke that I'm working on from Two Broke Girls, but it didn't happen. I had to learn Ukrainian for this one episode that hasn't aired yet. And the way I learned it is like the most bizarre thing that's happened to me in a long time. And I think I'm going to try to, that's a story I'm going to try to tell. Yeah.
Cool. So you just base it on, like, observations and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think, but I think it's personal observation, because I think like an observation that I have about myself or a situation that I've been in, instead of an observation about soup.
Yeah.
Which I still think is funny, but that's perhaps not, I like maybe doing this the other way a little bit better.
Yeah. Cool. And when you're telling stories to your friends and they say that's funny, is that like another way to be like,
it's funny because I did a story that I told somebody the other day, that I'll tell this story at a party amongst the people that it happened to. Like, we'll kind of share, like, stories, and I actually told it at one of my best friend's wedding, which was a mistake. It was the mistake. And I'm trying to, it's funny because with personal stories, when you get too personal, there's a very fine line on when it becomes unrelatable.
Yeah.
How did you have to be there? And I think what kind of is the mark of a great comic, I look at somebody who really, tells a story. It's really inviting people into something that seems very specific, that they didn't have to be there for. So that you kind of take such a specific moment that is really only applies to you and make people feel like they were there.
Yeah.
And I think that I have had success and failure doing both those things. And so it's good when I tell something on stage, sometimes people were like, oh, that's an interesting story, but it doesn't get a laugh. And I'll have to go back and really think, like, why is this so funny? And sometimes it's just funny because you and your friends are being idiots, which is great. And, but if you are able to turn the corner and find the gold, I think that can make the mark of a really great stand-up.
Yeah, and make the audience be like, oh yeah, my friends are idiots like that too.
Yeah, exactly. Even if the story is super unrelatable, like I was on a train one time going from Berlin to Prague, and this guy who looked like he was born in a coal mine, who was like 90 years old, he walked on in the cabin that my buddy and I were at, and he left his baby with us. And then he like walked away, but no part of us ever gave him the okay, or that we spoke Czech at all. Yeah. And he left for a long enough time where my friend and I were like, we're gonna have to raise this baby on our own. So like that really did happen, but what a weird thing that happened. So trying to make that relatable to people who have been put in a position of responsibility, because that's really the core of what it was. And so that just happened 8 or 9 months ago. Like, that just happened. And that was the weirdest thing in the world, because this baby spoke no Czech, no English, no nothing. And it was just, God. And it didn't know who we were. It didn't know who we were. And I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to come by and check for tickets. I don't have a ticket for this baby.
No.
And I don't speak Czech. And now I'm going to have to so who's going to take care of this baby? We're going to have to find a third guy and raise it as like a Steve Gutenberg movie. So, but luckily he came back like 45 minutes later.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
Was there like a bathroom on the train? Maybe he would just like...
He was on the cell phone.
Oh.
But he was on the old Nokia.
Yeah.
And I don't speak Czech, but he looked at us to say, I'm leaving her with you. I don't know what good luck is in Czech. I hope he said it. And he left.
Oh, man.
And he was on the phone. And then he just kept walking, and the trains, those trains in Europe, I mean, I haven't ridden them enough in America to know, but the ones in Europe are very long, and I feel like he was just taken off. And he didn't have any bags with him. Like, the baby didn't have any bags. We were going a considerable distance. I'm like, what if this baby's diaper needed to be changed? It needed food. And then he came back and just sat with the baby as if he didn't leave the baby with us. And so that was like, trying to take those things and like feeling absolute panic. Because we didn't want to touch the kid. We didn't want to all we wanted to do was keep it from killing itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's like raising a kid, and I feel like that's the main thing.
Right, but it's your kid at least.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is like, was that the Czech word for adoption? I don't have any, but that like really happened. And my friends and I the whole time, so when I see him again, like, it started to dawn on me that my travels might be a good thing to kind of do. But, I think I try to do it organically, which, I try not to say. I was passing by a deli the other day, and Christopher Walken was working at the deli. Can you believe that? And this is what it sounded like, which I think is a very inorganic way to get to a Christopher Walken impression. So what I try to do is find, with impressions as well, the most organic way. Like if I've met, like I had the pleasure of meeting Vince Vaughn, was like one of the most charming guys in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I try to use the reality to support the material. Instead of having like two polarizing points, then kind of shoehorning them together.
Yeah, pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So let's move it into Two Broke Girls.
Let's.
How did you find out about Two Broke Girls? Did you?
I was going for another project actually, and my friend, who was a casting director, auditioned me for this other role, and then I asked her. I was the last audition of the day. And we kind of hung out afterwards, and I said, what's going on? What have you been up to? She goes, Michael Patrick King, who, Sex and the City.
He's one of the co-creators, right?
Yes, he's the head writer, the executive producer, the showrunner, and the co-creator. So he is our god. I say, Michael Patrick King, we'll see you now. Yeah. And he, obviously incredibly successful. They were like, he's doing a network show. And I hadn't heard about it yet. And she goes, we're casting it right now. And I thought, oh my God, are there any parts for skinny white guys? And she goes, there's not a part for you. Because I used to have really short hair and no beard. And she said, the only Caucasian male in the series regulars is a 45-year-old bald Russian. She said, but come read, just come meet them. They'll like you. And, so the clothes that I wear on the show, I bought it at Goodwill. I bought those, and I came to the audition in a hairnet, and my hair grows, I always say like thorns from fairy tales, where like suddenly there's just like this bush keeping princes away from people, and so my hair grew pretty fast, and like that was like a month and a half. To come back and it was like the following week and then the next week and whatever. So I wore the outfit to the audition, and I got to meet Whitney Cummings, who's the other creator, is so funny, and Michael, and it was one of these things where I had a fun time, and I sincerely I never thought I was going to get it, and so you just think like you go in there, you hope one day when you get, they'll have a part for you, or they'll remember you. They'll be like, remember that skinny kid from the audition? Maybe we have a guy play a pizza delivery, whatever. So then I kept getting called back, and it was me and a bunch of much older guys. And so it kind of blew my mind, because I thought, well, now I'm just auditioning against a type. They don't know what, and Michael said it later, he goes, you don't know what you want. You want someone to come in and show you. And so at the end, it came down between me and this other guy who was much older, a very pleasant guy. And I think we both had, fun at the audition, just knowing that it had nothing to do with him or me. Or
it wasn't super competitive.
Yeah, whereas the other guys, everybody else looked like Noah's Ark. Like there were, you know what I mean? Like it was like there was somebody who looked like them, like a doppelganger. And it was crazy. But this guy and I, we looked like we were auditioning for two different shows. And so we became very friendly, and it was very supportive of the other. And I'm not saying that the other two weren't supportive, but we would chat it up and, hang out and just kind of share what was going on. And we thought, hey, man, have a great audition and good luck. Yeah. And that was it.
Awesome. Did you do the accent for the audition?
I did. That was a requirement. They wanted you to do the accent to see if you could.
Yeah. So did you do a Ukrainian one or was it Russian?
So
Well, it's kinda...
Ukraine is made up of a lot of Russians and Poles. So it was a light enough accent so that you could be understood on television.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes Oleg speaks very quickly, and a traditional, say, Russian accent is very thick. And it would be hard to kind of, because there's American words,
Yeah.
and then a lot of the jokes are the language. So, I lightened up and did to the best of my ability, a Russian Ukrainian accent. I'd grown up with a lot of Russians. And so I knew it, but I knew to make it, I thought, you got to lighten it though, or they're not going to be able to understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Cool. And so he's kind of like a man whore.
You
Not
think
gonna
so?
A little bit.
Oh, I don't know. We've seen two different shows.
But he has like a heart of gold.
A heart of gold?
Heart.
Sorry.
I think, right?
I just think that he's you know what? In Europe, I think they're far more sexually free than we
Yeah.
are in America. I'm not saying that like
Forward too, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you ever, there's like they always show it on like cable, the commercials that are like general fare for them, they can't make our television. It's like two boobs like fighting a penis, and you realize it's for like children's dental floss, and you're just like, okay. But I just think like they're very casual about sex, and I think that what the writers do such a great job of, and hopefully I help to aid in that, is that it's not a big deal to him. That it's a big deal to an American audience, or perhaps the Americans that he works with. But for him, it's not dirty. It's just it's his MO. It's just the way that he is, and perhaps a lot of the way that Europeans are. Because I think it's refreshing when I go to Europe. They're really they are. You can
Like
just
that,
see it.
yeah.
They're just loose. They're very casual about it, and it's not as taboo by far as it is over in America.
Is there anything that you relate to him with, though?
I used to have that job, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, when I was in college. And so that's actually why I wore what I wore, because I was sweating profusely in the kitchen when I had to do that job. And so that's why I wore the undershirt and like the Zuma pants or whatever, because I think these are comfortable. They're not particularly constricting. And I like that he is very definitive about his opinions. No matter the cool thing is, the girls are the way that they are, and the owner is the way that he is, and Jennifer is the way she is.
Yeah.
And I like that about him too, that he doesn't try to change. You know what I'm saying? That he's happy being him. And I think that's a really important thing that I try to bring out about him. I love the clothes that he wears. I think that those are bold statements, and I think that's I really, really enjoy playing him.
Yeah, he seems like a fun guy.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he has no filter.
Yeah.
And there's no sexual harassment suits yet. I mean, come on. Win-win.
Yeah.
Is the name of the Oleg story.
There you go. And you work with a few comedy legends, like
Yes.
Garrett Morris, who is one of the original SNL cast members.
Unbelievable.
And Jennifer Coolidge, who's Stifler's mom, and from Kiss Christopher Guest, all his movies.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. What's it, especially you work very close with her.
Yeah.
Specifically. What's it like working with them? Like,
I mean, I think it's an honor because people with so much experience that, like, living in LA, you can't do it until you've lived it.
Yeah.
There are things that they do and energy they bring that only is had by people with their experience. And I think that's rare, and Garrett, I mean, I've been watching Saturday Night Live my entire life, and I've seen maybe not every of the first 5 years, but I own 2 of them on DVD, and I'd owned them before I'd met him. Before I met him, I had the original cast recording in the record framed in my room. So, I had admired him for many, many years. And I think it's to get to know him and such a sweet human being and such a good heart, it just makes it all that better. Yeah. And, I feel lucky to have somebody to play off of like Jennifer, somebody with such spontaneity and who's such an original person. I think it's very refreshing, and it's just, I'm very lucky. It's a very cool position to be in.
And you learn a lot from both of them, right? Yeah.
You do. I mean, there is a calmness about them, very differently.
Yeah.
And but there's a calmness about them that I think comes from confidence, you know. And it's not a cockiness at all. It's that, you know, they screw up a line in front of an audience. The audience loves it. You know, Garrett has a great comeback to describe why he screwed it up. The audience laughs even harder. Then he's back into it, but it's very seamless. And, you know, that's just from a pro who's been doing it for so many years. That's professional.
Yeah, and he's used to live because SNL was live.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Is it harder filming in front of a live studio audience, or are you kind of used to it?
I mean, I grew up in the theater, so for me, it's a very cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice for the writing of the show. We are with the script for a whole week, but sometimes maybe things aren't clear to the audience. So it's really nice that the audience, they may not laugh at something, not because it's not funny, but because maybe it's not clear to them what's being said.
Okay.
And so they're such a great barometer of the storytelling. You know, they're a part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's great. You think like you're letting us know what's working, and you're also letting us know what's missing. And I think that's a really important thing. And our audiences are incredible. We value them very much.
Awesome. And you don't really improvise on the script, but you get to like throw out some
I
lines?
mean, Michael and the writers, they write such a tight script. I mean, you know, the old like, you know, sitcom 101 is you get a script and you circle the jokes on the page, you know. Our show has, from my experience, almost double the jokes per page. So Michael has written in such an incredible specific rhythm. And for you to improv on top of that, it's like a hat being put in a hat, you know?
Yeah.
If you have an idea, and he's, you know, I've pitched stuff that's got on the show many times, you pull him aside and, you know, when we rework the scene and, you know, he's very open and you just say, I have an idea for, can I pitch you something? He's like, yeah, tell me what it is.
Oh, that's cool.
And sometimes he goes, you know what? It's working. Let's do it your way. Or, you know what? We're going to restructure some stuff. Maybe we'll save that for another time.
Has anything that you've said got on air?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's, you know, and so I'm always thinking, but, you know, the writers, they're so good, and you don't really need to. I do it for the fun of it. I like thinking of that type of stuff, and my brain is kind of always working that way.
Yeah.
So I do it as a hobby.
Awesome. Yeah. And the kitchen that you work in is a real kitchen, right?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Have you eaten anything out of that kitchen or any of the cupcakes?
So it's like, I guess it's like working at a McDonald's. You probably like the stuff if you ever did like it, but you know, for a week. But we used to eat so many cupcakes, and that was season 1. You know, they've been in the business of cupcakes for 4 years now. I don't eat them on set, so that when I go somewhere, I can eat a cupcake.
Yeah.
Because there was just a time when it looked like we were like the Coney Island hot dog eating contest, you know? It looked like we were doing that with small cakes. And it was just like unnecessary. And this wonderful woman would just bring all these cakes, because every cupcake that you see on the show is a real cupcake.
Dang.
Everything. So they're just there. And so like, you know, you'd be done with the scene, you just kind of be snacking and you go, oh my God, I guess that.
You don't realize it. And Two Broke Girls gets a lot of big name guest stars. Like,
huge.
They had Lindsay Lohan, Martha Stewart. This season, Kim Kardashian's going to be on it.
Amazing.
Yeah. If you had to choose a next celebrity guest, who would you want to be on it?
I want Daniel Day-Lewis to play my mother. I think that'd be a challenge. And I think he can do it.
He could do it.
I know he could do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I think I really want to have Brad Garrett be on.
Oh, yeah.
I really like Brad Garrett, and
you do an impression of him so you could show him that.
I could show. Well, it's funny when I met one of his buddies, and who produced this other show that I did, and it was fun. We were just sitting down. I admire Brad Garrett greatly.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, and Everybody Loves Raymond. I mean, you know, it's like a masterclass in character work, and he's somebody that I have admired for many years. And so to have him be on the show would be really special. That's the thing about the show, which we are so lucky, because the show is so successful and it's so well written, and Michael only, you know, puts out hits, that we're lucky enough to get people like Kim Kardashian, you know, who said yes, which was such a great.
Crazy.
It was incredible. When we heard that we were getting, we thought, oh my God, this is nuts. I don't know that she's ever done network television before. She might have, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, you know, even if she has, I'm sure that list is incredibly small. And if she hasn't, then we're the first one to ever do it in a scripted format. So I feel really lucky for that.
Do you know who she's going to be, or can you tell us?
We can't say, you know, it's funny.
Yeah.
4 years later now, I never know what I can say. So if anybody sees this, please contact me and let me know what I can say.
Yeah.
Because I never know. But we have really good people on this year. Jesse Metcalf is on, and we have Lily Aldridge and Martha Hunt, who are 2 Victoria's Secret supermodels.
Dang.
It's great, like, you know, but really things that they shine in, you know, they're really funny stories too.
What can we expect? Any new things from the season, or?
I think this season, and I think we all hope that, you know, the more you do something, that the better it gets.
And better, yeah.
But I'm telling you, we did an episode with a fish this year. That's all I'll say. That when we watched it back, I remember turning to Michael and I went, "That is funny." I mean, that was like because we had to edit it for the audience because we needed a real fish. And there's a stunt and there was all this stuff. And, you know, when we saw it edited, I remember all of us kind of turning around and going, that was exactly as funny as I thought it was. You know, you hope, you know, when you see it back, you never know. But that kind of, I think, exceeded everyone's expectations and it blew people away.
Awesome. And you said it's going to be like the best season yet. Well, that's what you're hoping for.
I think so. We're 8 episodes in right now. And, yeah, I mean, we table read one this morning that was just like non-stop laughter. It was really cool. And I mean, that's what you hope. I mean, I think that's the dream, that as we work together, and, you know, even Jennifer, who wasn't there on day one, but she was there very, very shortly after, that we've worked together long enough, and the writers who obviously wrote great for us before, but the longer you know somebody, the chemistry gets better. And so that's what you hope. And so it's been a very nice 4th season thus far.
Awesome. I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for being here. One last question.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for any like aspiring comedians, improvisers, comedic actors? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, but advice is a weird thing because for me, I always think that comes from a place of like knowing more.
Yeah.
But it's the truth is nobody knows. I mean, experience is the only thing that knows more than you. You know, there's people that make it when they're, 5, and then there are guys. You know, one of my favorite actors of all time is J.T. Walsh. He's passed. He made it very late in life, but that guy was he was unbelievable. So I guess my only advice is, do the best at what you think you can do. That I think a lot of times people get caught up in, perhaps I've been a part of this tale as old as time, trying to do everything. You look at a guy like Christian Bale or Daniel Day-Lewis who do it all, and you think that's me. But be true to yourself and work as hard as you possibly can in that box, and then push the edges of that box.
Once you get good.
Yeah, but once you get, I wouldn't even say good, I would say great. Okay. Once you get great, and you really do know the edges of that box, because they're a lot further than you think you are. Like, I meet people, and I'm sure I, have said this before, I did it, I know it, I got it. Yeah. And then you think, like, you might have touched the edge of the box once, but really get amazing in that box, so then people know you as that way. And then if you're able to do other things, then you can blow people's minds. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank
you.
For everyone listening and watching, where can they find you on the internet?
At JB Kite, Kite, is my Twitter handle, and it's my Instagram. And so I post all my stand-up tour dates and appearances and stuff like that, and updates on the show we always put there.
And are you going to be performing any stand-up anywhere? You said Virginia, right?
I'll be in Richmond, Virginia. Oh man, I'm getting the dates wrong. It's the first weekend, I believe, in November, the 8th and 9th. It's that Friday and Saturday. Okay. And then I'll be in Des Moines, Iowa, the last weekend in January.
Nice.
And I'll be in Omaha, Nebraska in March.
And you just did Caroline's in New York, which was awesome.
I did. It was amazing. I did Caroline's, and I did The Cellar, which was really, and Stand Up New York, which was
legendary.
Incredible clubs, and that's such a fun scene out there. They were so nice to me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And also, guys, be sure to check out Two Broke Girls. Season 4 premieres this coming Monday, the 27th, I think, of October, at 8 o'clock. I'm Kelly McInerney. You could find me at Holly Weirdo on Twitter and Instagram. And thanks again for listening and watching. See you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.